Right, with Rosetta right around the corner, why don't we start taking a look at cards? I've been trying to remain spoiler-free, but then I sat down to try and make a video on Melody. Oh, with the latest ban restrict announcement, it's not going to work, right? Outside of Clash and UPF, it's just, she has been taken down a huge peg, right? Thanks to, Art of War, Tome, and Cash In, you could make up for the lack of real cards, right? In terms of trying to pull off Final Act. It's not plausible, so I had to scrap that. So I thought, why don't we take a look at the cards? I'm going to look at the majority of cards on the weekend anyway, so, why not dive on in? The expansion slot, we're not, obviously, it's what, one every 4 packs or something like that, so might as well look at them. They're going to be completely less common than everything else. Now, looking already at the list, I will continue to advocate that the expansion slot should be used more heavily, right, and expand upon everyone. Each hero already has such a long development cycle to circle around and add to their toolkits or fix things that need to be fixed. So using the expansion slot in a larger scale way kind of seems necessary, right? But nonetheless, we'll look through the cards and see if there's anything super interesting. So straight up, there's a arcane set for assassins, which is obviously really good. They could have tied it in with contract though, right? I think since it has spell void, having the, does it have a keyword? I don't think it has a keyword, but having the pay 2 silver to get this back would have been fantastic, right? Because again, it's super cool seeing them used in conjunction, right? You've got arcane barrier for the majority of the game, and then spell void for that little pinch points, right? Where you have to either decide equipment gone, and that way I can maintain my hand to try and come back next turn, or I need that extra little push, and I can use Spell Void, right? So that's really cool to see them in conjunction, but, again, could have been a little bit more interwoven into what already exists, especially, again, if we're getting, little by little expansion, right? I mean, contract may or may not be its own thing. Once again, maybe through Armory decks, we might see contract getting highlighted more, but yeah, just tying it in with that would have been really cool. The artwork's super interesting, right? So I wonder if this theme will amount to anything, or if it's just the choice, right? It's high-tech spider. Yeah. So it's definitely the slums of Bright Lights, is it not? But cool design, right? The artwork's really cool. We'll see if they're worth anything in cold foil, right? News cycles out. I mean, all of them do have slots, right, that are usable, and this will definitely just help with their toolkit. It's a slight advantage over Nullrune. Splatter Skull. So when this hits a hero, choose a face-down card in their banish zone that was banished by Intimidate this turn, put into the graveyard. So again, similar to Contract, are we going to get more Intimidate support, or is it just Reiner's thing, right? If we see, again, an explosion of development in what appears to be the 2 to 3 things that every hero/class can do, fantastic. If not, it's just an okay card, right? It's definitely cool to be able to get rid of something you've intimidated away, but it's sort of niche, and I mean the stat values are really good, right? 2 for 6, 3 block on a red is still nice. See what pans out with it, right? And more block for Brood is always very welcome. Now, drink them under the table. Betsy. I think Betsy is just a missed hero, right? From memory, I can't remember what Betsy even does, what makes her unique as a guardian. I think overall that I like the specialization more for Cheyenne. So whenever you attack, you control wages. You may pay 2. If you do, it gets +1 and overpower. So that's actually quite nice, right? So a 6 for 8. I say it out loud and then it doesn't. A 6 for 8 with overpower, a 6 for 9 with overpower, that will, if you win, gain your card and cause your opponent to lose an extra card, which also, that as a pressure point, right? If they're going to lose a card anyway, it means they're going to block with 1 extra card anyway, right? So is that really that good? Because they're going to deny you the draw, right? Or they're going to get the draw themselves, and then they just circumvent the extra card they had to block. So I don't think it's that fantastic of a card, right? It goes well with Betsy's whole shtick. Definitely not enough to dig her out of the bin, unfortunately. Gust Wave of the Second Wind. So Surging Strike. I think that's one of the costly assassin attacks, is it not? I have the extra tab. we should be doing this a bit more. Surging Strike. Surging Strike is 2 for damage, right? 2 block, has go again. So, you know, cool. You have to get them together. I think I much prefer again. So, similar to Assassin with Contract and then Banishment, right? We now have Ninja with combo, Broad Spectrum combo, and then Chain Links. And I'd much rather them going down the Chain Link path. It seems a lot more dynamic. Because again, the big limiter to me for a lot of these cards and their ability to incorporate well into the toolkits of everyone is the lack of cards that every hero gets, right? As we continue evolving. If there was just one thing that each class did, then that'd be fine. But because every new hero, they try to introduce a new sort of idea, a new sort of toolkit, right? Which makes complete sense. Don't get me wrong. It then just sort of falls apart because, again, the development cycle is 1 to 2 years to cycle back around and expand upon it properly. So if the expansion slot was more fleshed out, a larger pool of cards, and, you know, again, sped up that development cycle, I think it'd be super exciting. But overall, you know, does this salvage what they've taken away from Ninja currently? Not really, in all honesty. Then we have Adaptive Dissolver, right, which is much better than the Arcane Barrier, right, of the previous expansion slot in Misval. Stars on board is significantly better than searching your deck, straight up, right? So Adaptive Dissolver, right, you can take 2 and 3 copies, right? It's still set to the limits of, you know, whatever format you're playing, but still any slot pieces is fantastic. So yeah, this is a good one, right? Again, fills the niche. Unlike Assassin, they don't need that little bit extra because they already have, you know, the tempo and the aggro to try and circumvent and try to wear down on your opponents, whereas Assassin is slightly a bit more slower as they get their game plan across, right? So yeah, I do like Adaptive Dissolver more than the Assassin pieces. And again, Contract would be the one way to make them a bit more impactful. Plan for the worst. 0 cost, blue 3 block for Ranger. Fantastic. With traps, again, I love me some Riptide. Look at the target hero's hand and arsenal. At the beginning of the next end phase, they discard all cards in their hand, destroy all cards in their arsenal. So a really strong effect. That's good. Search your deck for up to 3 traps. Reel them, put them into your hand, then shuffle 2 cards from your hand into your deck. So as long as you have 3 traps in your deck, this is a neutral card, right? No, it doesn't have go again. That makes it a little bit worse, right? But it's still neutral draw. You don't lose anything, you just get the effect. So it is kind of nice in that sense. If that go again, or was, heck, if it was instant, that would be really nice, right? You play it, you get your traps, and then you defend with them, right? Or, you know, you play it, you cycle back the traps you just drew and keep the cards you actually want to play. I think that flexibility would have been a little bit better. Is Azalea going to take or run enough traps to make this a card you can count on? Because I think the -1 through it is a bit bad. I mean, it's not instant, so it being -1 doesn't really matter because it's generally going to be the last thing you do on your turn anyway. So blue for 3 block. Again, it's just this middle ground card to me, right? I think they're, with the latest, you know, principles of design and everything, they're just reining it in and trying to be a bit more conservative, right? This definitely doesn't excite me as much as Murky Water did, unfortunately, but interesting card. Unsheathed. Your next sword attack this turn gets +3, and when this attacks, if it has greater than twice its base, it gets go again. So basically always just +3 and a go again, right? 0 for 3. Yeah, see, that's just a nice just filler card, right? Something that will be used and do decently. So yeah, again, it's not that these cards are bad, it's just they're, I don't want to say average, but they're just normal Majestics to me. And in which case, I'd rather see everyone get a whole new set of normal Majestics. Or, you know what, the better way to phrase it is, compared to previous expansion slots, I feel like this is less impactful, right? Definitely has impact. I don't want to sell that short, but it's less impactful than what we've seen from the previous expansion slots. And again, goes in line with their new design principles and everything. But there's a little bit here for everyone, right? And then for Illusionist, we have more sets of armor. Again, I hate the whole feeling of the expansion slots, you know, losing, was it 8 cards to equipment, 8 cards to 3 classes, right? Rather than, again, trying to expand upon everyone and, you know, smooth over the development cycle. But we have Arcane Barrier for Illusionist, so we have instants, pay 1, destroy this. get a -2, so get a -1, right? Next aura you play this turn. So, you know, that's kind of okay, right? You'd probably just take for the Arcane Barrier. Calming Gesture, destroy this, create a Spectral Shield token again for 1. I guess that helps out. But again, just Arcane Barrier, really. Well, you know, they're an option above Null Rune, so that's the main way to think about it, right? But would they replace what is currently being taken? Depends, again, how prevalent Arcane is in the... Obviously, it's going to be prevalent, right, with Rosetta coming out, but is it going to be damning enough? Flutter Steps doesn't have Arcane. When destroyed, you may play your next aura this turn as though it were an instant. So that's actually a really good effect, right? Why do I just feel like I like that more than the new Footsteps? I don't know what they're called. We'll just go with Illusionist. I should do Illusionist. Right, what are the Footsteps? God, I'm gonna have to go off of sight, right? The ones that came out with Mistveil. I can always cut this out if I can't find it. Oh, there we go. Pathways. Right, so it's Chi. You get Ward 3. You may play auras this turn. So whole auras, yeah. No. But I do like this effect, right? Because of the versatility. You break it with Ward, and then you get to... Where's the story? You know why I like this? Combo potential. You can cash this out, and then that clears the destruction effect, and then you can play an aura as though it were instant. Yeah, that's why it's singing to me. But still, the flexibility, right? So on your opponent's turn, you use it to soak up damage. You then have the option to play an aura straight away, right, for some more defense, or you have the ability to wait till the end of the turn when hopefully everything's spent and trip them up, and then put something out going into your turn. So yeah, Flutter Steps, decent. And then we have Dust and a Briar card, right? So Dust from the Fertile Fields. Obviously, Dromai's coming back, right? Armory deck or set, either way, she's coming back, and probably soonish, right? So another Dust card. It's just going to sit and gather dust for now. That's fine. I feel like these are sort of the lore cards, right? Which, again, they're kind of just scrapped from the expansion slot. Remember the big 3 things that we were going to get? It's mainly just meta cards or competitive cards. They're not. Some of these aren't obviously meta. Regrowth and Shock. So a really good Bright card, right? I personally am just more interested in the infinite loop that Briar has for Living Legend than this. But still, it's a really nice effect. I've seen it because of, obviously, I was testing out Briar, and that stumbled upon the infinite loop. So return attack action card with cost less than X from your graveyard to your hand, where X is the total arcane damage dealt to opposing heroes this turn. So it's basically just get any attack you want back to hand, which is fantastic, because it's not going to the deck, it's going to hand, and that's super strong. And then, of course, we have Briar and the Marvel Rosetta Thorn. Yeah, so hopefully this also means there's a bigger push for Living Legend. I want it to be its own, event that stores can run. So you have, skirmishes go back to just Blitz, then we have normal armories, and then we have whatever the Living Legend format gets blanketed under, and they push it a lot more, right? Because they should be the 3 pillars. Back when, they were sort of discounting Blitz before the strike decks, and, it was just lumped in with one another, that was fine. But again, if they're pushing Blitz back as the new player format, then they need to push Living Legend as an actual standalone, right? Not just depending on the feeling of the crowd, right? That's my personal opinion. But marketing's a whole another thing. Altogether, again, they're definitely interesting designs, and they do what the expansion slot is meant to do, right? Expand upon things for X heroes. Just, I think it's a bit too sparse. I would like to see a lot more cards, a lot more heroes hit with the expansion slot, right? And again, overall, compared to previous expansion slots, being, Dust Till Dawn, Bright Lights, Heavy Hitters, and Mistveil, this does feel a little bit lesser, right? Can I, what, let me bring them up, because, again, I might have, rose-tinted goggles or something on. Yeah, at least compared to Mistveil, right? I feel like these were all a lot more impactful. Maybe not the Evo stuff. It's clear that, Evos just aren't working. The whole item mechanic in Fab kind of needs to be reworked. It's never going to be worth it taking that turn to set something up and sacrifice everything. Even Klloo, who's, built to do this, isn't obviously shining very well currently. But Long Draw was super good for Ranger, right? Shadowrun Horror, Eulogy was fantastic. Kindle. Yeah, overall, it feels like these cards were more impactful. Maybe. Maybe I'm just, again, struggling with the new design principles and the cards cut. But we'll leave it there. So, yeah, there you go. My thoughts on the expansion slot. Let me know yours. Otherwise, on the weekend, I guess we'll peruse the main set of cards. I don't know. I've only seen a couple. There's a couple that I really like, but it's not speaking to me as much as Part of the Misfound. Maybe it's because, you know, they're trying to tone down power. Oh, another interesting thought, right? So obviously, we've got the Marvel, right? I assume both come with the Rosetta Thorn? Yeah, yeah. God, sucks to get the young hero then. But, you know, I don't think they will return in terms of bringing back dual class elements. I can see them bringing Briar back. I don't know how they'd shift it, but generally speaking, the elemental cards, right, as in the actual typed elemental cards, is the big problem for Tales of Aria. They're what caused the real big balance upset. So I don't think they ever do dual elements again, right? So these are strictly living legend cards to me, and that's kind of interesting to see them, you know, tacked onto the set, right? We're kind of getting to the point where we might or we should see, you know, divergence and proper products. No, we're still far off. Flesh and Blood doesn't move as fast as most other games, right? They're definitely taking their time in terms of development, which is fine, but, you know, does cause some other issues. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.